If this is what I think it is, it could effectively destroy, at the very least, Logan Paul's defamation case, if not his defense in the class action case as well.
Imagine this. You are one of the most famous influencers on the planet. You have millions in the bank, a global energy drink empire, and a fan base that follows your every move. But you have a secret so damaging that it could dismantle everything you've built. Now imagine you decide to sue a journalist for defamation to prove you're innocent, but that very lawsuit, the one you started, becomes the weapon that exposes your darkest secrets to the world. This is the reality for Logan Paul. Right now, Coffeezilla is hitting Logan Paul harder than his brother Jake ever got smacked in a boxing ring, because Logan just made the ultimate legal blunder. He sat for a sworn deposition, and now he is absolutely terrified. He is begging the court to keep the transcript hidden. He's bricking it. And today, we are going deep into the court documents to find out exactly why Logan Paul is so scared of the truth coming out.
For starters, this kind of a request to mark the entire deposition as confidential is not normal.
Let's get into the actual court documents, because the more you read them, the more obvious it becomes that something went catastrophically wrong behind the scenes. Logan Paul recently filed a motion to preserve confidentiality. Now, in plain English, he wants to mark his entire deposition as confidential. Think about how weird that is. Usually in a lawsuit, you might redact a phone number, a home address, or a trade secret. But Logan doesn't want to hide a sentence or a page. He wants the whole thing locked away. He's telling the court that Coffeezilla cannot be trusted with the transcript. But here's the kicker. Logan's legal team is arguing that if the deposition isn't locked down, Coffeezilla will share it with the public, with other lawyers, or even, heaven forbid, federal investigators. But as Coffeezilla's lawyers pointed out, none of that is illegal. There is no rule in the American legal system that says you can hide a deposition just because it makes you look like a scammer or a liar. Embarrassment isn't a legal shield. Looking bad under oath is not a reason for secrecy. That is the entire point of a deposition. To get to the truth, no matter how ugly it is.
Trying to meet and confer with Paul was totally futile because Paul made this blanket designation of confidentiality over the entire deposition.
One of the funniest parts of this legal battle is the shade being thrown by Coffeezilla's legal team. Logan's lawyers complained that Coffeezilla didn't try to work things out before objecting to the secrecy. Coffeezilla's response? It was basically, why bother? He argued that trying to meet with Logan's team was totally futile because Logan made a blanket designation of confidentiality. And then comes the burn. Coffeezilla's lawyers stated that by filing this motion, Logan Paul incontestably signaled his desire simply to suppress anything depicting him in a less than flattering light. In other words, Logan is fine with the world seeing him in his self-produced, highly edited YouTube videos where he looks like a hero. But the moment a camera captures the real, unedited, evasive Logan Paul, he wants the tape burned. He only wants the prime version of himself to exist, not the version that has to answer tough questions about where the money went. Now, let's talk about the FBI, because this is where Logan's argument completely falls apart. Logan is claiming that the deposition must stay secret because Coffeezilla has been feeding information to federal investigators. But Coffeezilla's lawyers fired back with a pot calling the kettle black moment that is honestly hilarious. It turns out Logan's own lawyers contacted the FBI on December 1st, 2025. They sent a detailed letter making accusations against Coffeezilla and used discovery materials like emails and phone calls to try and get him in trouble. So Logan's logic is, I can talk to the FBI to try and ruin you, but you aren't allowed to show the FBI my sworn testimony. That's not how the law works. If you uncover evidence of potential wrongdoing during a case, it is actually in the public interest to hand it over to law enforcement. Logan isn't protecting his privacy. He's trying to block a federal investigation.
Here, Coffeezilla says, the mere fact that Paul comes off poorly in his deposition is no basis to keep the entire transcript confidential. If, for example, Paul was evasive during his deposition or
he's scared that the FBI will read his own words and realize that the CryptoZoo situation was far worse than he admitted on camera. Coffeezilla's legal team didn't just file a response, they dropped a strategic nuclear bomb in the form of a hint about what actually happened inside that room. They stated a point that should make every Logan Paul fan stop and think. I'll quote it directly. The mere fact that Paul comes off poorly in his deposition is no basis to keep the entire transcript confidential. Stop and and process that for a second. In the world of high-stakes litigation, lawyers don't just say things like, he comes off poorly for fun. They are signaling to the judge and the world that Logan Paul's performance under oath was a total disaster. They went even further, laying out a hypothetical that feels very real, implying that if Logan was evasive, if he constantly contradicted his previous public statements, or, worst of all, if he admitted to making misrepresentations, then that testimony is no longer just evidence. It becomes the ultimate support for Coffeezilla's defense of truth. Let's break down why this is a fatal blow. Remember, Logan Paul is the one who initiated this defamation lawsuit. In a defamation case, the burden is on him. To win, he has to prove that Coffeezilla lied about him. But here is the massive oops moment. If Logan admitted under oath, even once, that he misled his investors or wasn't transparent about the CryptoZoo project, his entire defamation lawsuit is stone cold dead. It's over. You cannot sue someone for calling you a scammer if you've just admitted to the facts that make the label stick. But the nightmare for Logan doesn't end with Coffeezilla. This testimony is a ticking time bomb for his other legal battles. Logan is currently fighting a war on two fronts. On one side, he's trying to sue Coffeezilla. On the other, he's desperately defending himself in a massive class action lawsuit from the victims of CryptoZoo. If this deposition goes public, the lawyers in the class action suit will use it as a manual to dismantle him. He is desperately trying to plug every leak in a ship that has already hit the iceberg and is rapidly taking on water. Think about the logic here. If Logan had cooked in that deposition, if he had walked in there and looked like a brilliant, honest businessman, he wouldn't be trying to seal it. He would be posting the highlights on TikTok with Sigma music, using it as PR to prove his innocence. Instead, he's spending hundreds of thousands, potentially millions, in legal fees just to make sure you and I never see a single page. That level of desperation tells you everything you need to know about what's hidden in those documents. Logan Paul isn't protecting his privacy. He's protecting the last tiny bit of a reputation that is about to vanish.
So his third argument basically says that Coffeezilla hasn't indicated any imminent need to file any portion of Paul's deposition transcript.
At the end of the day, when you strip away the high-priced lawyers and the PR-friendly apologies, Logan Paul's final argument isn't just weak, it is virtually non-existent. He is standing before a judge and essentially saying, look, Coffeezilla doesn't have a desperate, immediate need to show the public my deposition right now, so why not just bury it in the vault forever? It is a classic, trust me bro defense from a man who has lost the public's trust. But as the legal expert Legal Bites points out, the law doesn't work that way. The burden of proof isn't on the public to prove they deserve to see it. The burden is entirely on Logan to prove why it should be hidden. And let's be clear, he hasn't pointed to a single bank account number, a single private address, or a single trade secret that justifies this secrecy. He isn't protecting his privacy, he is protecting his ego. He is protecting a carefully curated version of himself that can't survive the harsh light of a courtroom transcript. Think about the sheer scale of this accountability gap. Logan Paul is a man with a global empire, millions in the bank, and the eyes of a generation on him. Yet, he acts like a man trapped in a world where actions shouldn't have consequences. He had every chance to be the good guy. He could have taken the millions he is currently throwing at legal fees and actually fulfilled his 2023 promise to make it right for the CryptoZoo victims. He could have refunded the people who trusted him instead of using their losses to fund a lawsuit against the person who exposed the truth. Instead, he chose to weaponize his wealth to silence Coffeezilla. If this deposition becomes public, and given the legal standards, it almost certainly will, the world is finally going to see the unedited, unpolished, and unprotected Logan Paul. There will be no jump cuts to hide his evasive answers, no high energy music to distract from the contradictions, and no prime energy drink to wash away the reality of his own words under oath. This won't just be another piece of internet drama, it might be the definitive end of the Logan Paul era, the moment where charisma meets its match in a court of law. So I'm putting it to you, is Logan cooked for good this time, or will his influence buy him one last get out of jail free card? The truth is waiting to be unsealed, and when it is, the internet will never be the same. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for the full breakdown the second that transcript drops. This is just the beginning. I'm out.